the reason why producers speak very freely about things they've never experienced. I think a lot of producers, man, they have not had their heart broken enough.
Yeah, and then you have to explain why you unfollowed Curtis King.
Yeah, I will. I'll try.
He was like, I'm going to wait till the podcast to talk about this.
That's the real story, man. What's going down? It's the MEC podcast, Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, powered by BeatStars. My name is DJ Payne One. We got Dame Ritter in the building as always, and today we have a very special guest. I feel like every quarter I have to have at least one video recorded conversation with him. Curtis King, how are you feeling, sir?
Doing well. How you doing? How y'all doing, I should say?
We're both devoid of personality, monotone and miserable as always, right?
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself, Payne.
It's lit.
Yeah, I gotta, just before we jump into this, I had a really dope session yesterday. And I was so mad that I didn't do this prior to yesterday, but I held a session just for managers only. And as much as I complain about, up and coming managers and what they're doing wrong and things like this, because I really haven't met that many up and coming managers that really have their stuff together. But at the same time, I also realized that there's really no structure or way to like develop into a solid artist manager. I mean, unless you work for a management company or have a mentor or just get under somebody's wing, people are out there just winging it. Like they're just winging it, and they're coming. They might have started because they're the homie. They might have started because, they actually had an interest in it. Some people just fall into it like me. So I had a session that was only artist managers. 100 people signed up, about 40 people chimed in or tuned in, but they stayed the whole hour and a half. And it was really dope just to hear different people's experiences, because there's so many different approaches to artist management, so many different types of artists with so many different types of wants and needs. So this is something I'm going to continue to do. I don't know how often, but if there's anybody that's listening that is an artist manager or knows an artist manager that needs some guidance or support, text manager to 844-206-7800, and I'll keep you posted on when the next roundtable discussion is. Again, text manager to 844-206-7800. I thought it was really dope. I thought I'm not going to post I wasn't going to post the whole session in its entirety, but I'm definitely going to cut up some of the gems. And it was a great networking opportunity for me because there was a lot of, experienced folks that jumped in and added their 2 cents. So shout out to everybody that attended the artist management roundtable discussion yesterday.
Shout out to them. So, I don't know. Do you want to address your beef with Curtis King that led to you unfollowing him on Twitter?
Definitely no beef. And I got that. So Curtis, first of all, I apologize for not following you. I had followed you before and I thought I was still following you. I don't want it to turn into some weird stuff. I know.
Man, I was here from the beginning, man. Dang, I was here from the beginning. When you started this new venture, man, I brought you on the channel. You know what I'm saying?
Man. What's up, man? What I do? I know they make a big deal of stuff like this, and Giannis Antetokounmpo was like all over the media for unfollowing all his teammates.
True.
But I will let you know, I was at the gym probably a year ago. I came back, and there was Uber Eats at my door. It delivered like 6 hamburgers, and I don't even eat meat. This is a true story. There was crazy. Uber Eats was at my, and I was like, how did this happen? I looked in my phone and I had ordered, and it wasn't even the same meal 5 times. Like wow. It was separate meals from Farmer's John's. And I was like, this couldn't have happened. Like just in my pocket. Like I've heard, like I pocket dial people all the time, but
little butt dial. Yeah.
Pocket Uber eating. That's another level. So that might've been what happened. But anyway, so Curtis made a tweet that, I was just scrolling and he said, we don't build a following or a fan base. People gather around things that we build. And just off that, I just disagreed. But I wanted to give Curtis an opportunity to explain what he meant, because we probably on the same page.
Yeah.
It's just my lack of understanding.
Is this how it goes? You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't heard from you in a few months. And then, the first thing you was like, Nah, I'm gonna jump in this one to Curtis. I'm gonna let you know how. You know what I'm saying? It's all love, bro. I know. I don't take that stuff. any to heart. There's a lot worse things that could have happened in just this year that I'm sure we all can relate to. But let me kind of explain what I meant by that. I think that, so here's what inspired it. I think that's going to be a better answer. What inspired is these DMs that I know all three of us get. There's a lot of producers that hit us up on a regular basis and ask us for cheat codes. They ask us for tricks and strategies, everything except for the actual hard work that it requires to actually gather people around an idea or a product. And I started to think about it. I was like, okay, instead of me being, the boomer waving my fist at the folks in my in my lawn, I said, well, why would somebody feel like they have the ability to manipulate other people into doing what they want, listening to their music, listening to their beats, buying from them? Why would somebody feel like that? And I started to realize, well, there's power in the words. There's power in the word build. When you think about something that you build, you think about something that you have control over. And in all actuality, as I started to think about it, I was like, when I was trying to actively build an audience, I was looking for ways to manipulate people into listening or buying what I had. Hey, how can I make this ad as pop out as possible for you to stop what you're doing and manipulate what you came to Instagram for? And like, I'll flip the image upside down, whatever it requires. And I started realizing that doesn't build real fans in the long term. Now, your objection, I'm 1,000% with, which is why I was kind of confused, like where the objection was to begin with, of it is up to us to nourish that audience. It is up to us to take care of them once they come to us. But I was talking about merely acquisition, merely how do we get these fans? And I think that words like build, I think words like, how do I get my followers up? They take the interest from the artist or the producer off of the hard work that you really have to do. Like, just because you got 500 followers does not mean you're going to have 500 sales when you start selling your beats. Like, we know that. That's basic stuff for us. But I think a lot of producers who are in my DMs with these questions, I'm like, first of all, I'm not selling beats anymore. And second of all, I have gone so far left. You know what I mean? Curtis is like he's like, you too woke, Curtis. You want some other stuff. I'm in another place. So to get these questions make me feel like, what are you really asking me? Are you asking me how to take care of the fan base you already have, or how to manipulate people into becoming your fans? Because then I have to address the whole thing at a more broader angle. So when I made that tweet, I said to myself, okay, we don't build people, right? All we have the control over, and I remember Pharrell said something along the lines of, I'm glad the people chose me. Like he didn't take credit for his fan base. I'm glad people chose me. All I had the control over was to make the music, mix the music, put it out, promote it, and hope people chose it. And so I think it's the same thing for producers, in my opinion. I just think it's the same thing for producers in that you make a beat. You cannot force every person that is a fan of Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole or Lil Baby to like your type beat. It's just not, it's crazy to me. And so I think helping producers get out that mentality of, yo, I'm just one viral trick away from making people a fan of mine, sets them up for the marathon as opposed to just a sprinting.
So I think that's why it's important to have these conversations, especially when you're limited to a few characters on Twitter. Like, I did not receive it that way, nor do I have an issue with the word build. Like, I think I see, when I think build, I don't go to manipulation at all. Right. Sure. But I agree with you 100% now that you break it down like that. But to me, build is like it's what we did with Funk Volume. I feel like we built an audience, but I don't see any negative connotation to that. And I think that, especially because I think it was like all caps too. I think you put build in all caps, and then it was like, it was like a negative thing. I was like, hold on, like building is positive. Like, to me, that's how through my eyes and through my experience, it has nothing to do with manipulation or any type of tricks. Because me and Payne, we do not promote tricks. We do not promote shortcuts. We do not promote any of the get rich quick schemes or anything like that. So we're on the same page. I just think it's a matter of, how we're
Well,
sending the message.
and I think, damn, to be 1,000 with you, I'm with you in terms of the word build. When somebody says, "Yo, I want to build with you, Curtis," well, I guess it depends on what circles, because some people just say that and then they don't ever build with you. But when somebody says, "I want to build with you," like that to me says, I want to join in community with you. I want to see what we can put our heads together and create. I think that's how you and I may view it, and maybe we'll figure out that it's a Gen Z thing. Maybe we'll figure out that it's another way to look at it. But I think that there's a mentality that doesn't look at build as communion. They look at build as like create a character or create a my player on 2K. They look at build as mod. They look at build from a whole nother perspective. Like, oh, you mean build like create something from scratch and have control over all of its elements and the characteristics. So I think that's what I'm starting to see is that, words change all the time, right? Words have changed it's been so many things that have shifted over time, but that's the part. That's why I put it in bold. And sometimes I'm thankful that you only get so many characters on Twitter because we have opportunities to have conversations like this for somebody who may feel like, what you mean? Like but I see it all the time, and Payne, I know you see it. When you get in a live stream and you get a few of them weirdo, folks in there that's like, bro, why'd you cut your beard? You should keep it at this length. I'm not your mod character on your video game. The hell are you talking about? Like, I'm not that. I'm not your character to be manipulated. But I had to understand maybe this is a mindset for certain people because everything else in their life has given them uber opportunities. They no longer have to watch one movie. We used to have to rent a few movies from Blockbuster. Now they can have every movie they ever wanted sitting on Netflix. The culture is different with a lot of folks coming up. So even though they don't have ill intentions. I just think that they want things to perfectly align with how they've came up, and build means something different to them. I think like to build with people, this is what I built my YouTube audience off of. Not the fact that I built them as individuals. I invested in them, but we build together. We jump in live streams. We have feedback, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? Like I keep in touch with them on the email. That building is something that I'm all 1,000% for. And I know we're all for. That's why we have an audience to, thankfully, to come back and forth too.
I think you just said something brilliant. I think language really does matter. I'm learning more and more how much language matters. And I'll explain why in a second. But what you said was, I don't build fans, I invest in fans. When you said, I've never heard it said that way, and I'm not saying you're the first person ever to put that sentence together, but for me, that just really struck a chord because, and I want to start using that. All credit to Curtis for that, for coining that, but I want to start using that because it is an investment, and you're right. I think language, as a linguist, I know language shapes our thoughts. I know language shapes our actions. I know language shapes how we build our perspectives.
Sure.
And so if we're using words that have a certain meaning and we're communicating with others, those words might have totally different meanings to each person, but what matters most to us is our meaning. So if we're talking about building a fan base as opposed to investing a fan base, I think the latter is a lot more accurate in the sense of it's not so much open to interpretation. You're investing in your fans. For example, both of us did this. You did it better and faster than I did, but we both put out a ton of free content that we truly in our hearts believed was the best for the producer community. And we did it for a long fucking time, and we're still doing it. And that's an investment. I like you were saying, we get DMs from people who have released 10 beats this year, and I'm like, what's happening? Where are my fans? Where's my money? You didn't invest in your craft, number one, and you're not investing in your audience because 10 beats is compared to a Cash Money AP or a DJ Payne 1, and I learned this from him. I put out like an average of 2 beats a day. It's sickening.
That's crazy.
So it's like, who's making the higher investment? my investment could fail. All investments have that potential. My beats could all be trash. They could be mislabeled. They could be irrelevant based on the keywording. But still, in that one respect of just quantity, I've made a bigger investment. And so to extend that to just interacting with people in general, I try to have, and I think this is another reason why people think I'm just such an asshole. I try to use the clearest language possible, because when someone reaches out, and people love the bullshit, people they'll reach out, yo, fam, I'm trying to start a movement. Let's take it to the next level. None of that has any intrinsic meaning to it. You know what I mean? Like if I text you right now, Curtis, like, yo, I got this great idea. I want to start a movement with you. Are you in? You would be crazy to say yes, because you have no idea what you're agreeing to. So when someone contacts me and is like, let's make some magic together, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you just want me to send beats? Do you want
a married fam?
Like, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I have to be clear and say, okay, I think I'm doing you a service by saying, here's what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Let's meet halfway. And then it's like, oh man, you got a bad attitude because you don't want to talk about these grandiose ideas using vague language about building movements and taking over the world and changing the game. Yeah. It's like, I'm not here to change the game. I just want to make really good music. Right. If you want to do that, let's work something out so that it's fair for both of us. And let's use clear language so I know what your contribution is, you know what my contribution is, and that keeps life simple.
Yeah, and I think we all have our own, like, sort of like, I don't want to say triggers, but we have our own. I was listening to, I forget what audio our video I was watching from Tony Robbins, but he talks about these 3 different things that we all kind of have as our North Star for what makes the most impact on us. I'll give you an example of like a relationship. We all have 3 different categories of things that have the ultimate impact. This is our North Star, but we use the other ones. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are kinesthetic. Visual is the obvious one. People say things like, yo, I want to build something that's larger than life, something that's like stadium status. That's somebody who's visual. They're telling you all the different things that they see in their imagination. Somebody who's auditory, like Payne, is like, no. Here's what I said. Every single detail of this. And then the last one is kinesthetic. That's people who are like, yeah, I like it, but do you feel it? You know, do you feel? They're more so, hands-on. And so what I realize is that I've been communicating with a lot of people, like in relationships. The worst relationships are people who are kinesthetic versus auditory, because auditory is like, the kinesthetic is like, man, just you tell your girl, hey, just hug me, like I miss you. I want to do the thing. And she's like, no, it's the way you say you love me that I don't like. Like these are the people who don't. And the same thing applies to us when it comes to producers. Some producers who do that, that meme where they like, smacking their fist, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, let's build, fam. Like, I just see something that's like a movement. They may very well see something that if you were able to see that picture in their mind, you would get a better idea. But because you are auditory, you're like, I don't hear anything. It sounds like air. But I think it's kind of up to us as leaders to recognize that and just be like, all right, cool. Well, make this make sense. And I think you do that already. When you ask them to be clear about their language, now you're asking them to build real rapport with you. And part of that is, understanding what your North Star is, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just don't know. I think a lot of people just want to talk and shape their goals as you converse. But I think what people also have to understand is that someone like a Curtis King doesn't really have time to do that with 100 people a day.
Yeah, hell no. Don't want to either.
Yeah, and someone like a Dame Ritter who has vowed 1,000,000 times to never manage another artist, and he will probably manage another artist at some point. But if you're an artist and you want Dame to manage you, I think you have much better chances if you send him some kind of like plan, some one sheet, something with specifics like, look, Dame, this is what I have done. This is where you fit in. This is what I'd like to offer. This is what I think you can offer. More so than someone just contacting him and saying, oh, I'm the new Hobson.
Yeah, because that's going to get you absolutely nowhere.
Never heard that one before. Thanks for the DM. Yeah, for sure.
You've heard that before, Dame, right?
No, that would be. I don't think anybody that knows the history would say that. Like, but anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you got a lot of weirdos. I'm shocked you haven't heard that one.
And I'm not mad. I love what I'm working on now. I love the comedian lane, even though like we're talking music stuff now. I'm working with comedians, but we're talking about some music stuff, so it's pulling me back. And obviously, I still, work with the MEC and foundation and stuff like that. So I'm always going to be in music. But this conversation, one, I didn't think we would get relationship advice on the MEC podcast. So shout out to Curtis King for the relationship advice.
Hey, music is a relationship. Music is a marriage.
For sure.
It is what it is.
For sure.
I've never seen Payne run that fast in my life, by the way, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
If I had to feed his cat or something. And it also has me thinking, I mean, even before this podcast, I know that, a lot of things gets lost on social media and just in any kind of conversation. But even after the artist management roundtable discussion, I posted it on Facebook. I actually used build. At the end, I posted like a thank you for people to showing up. And then at the end, I was like, let's build. And I know that there's a lot of confusion with that, because what I mean is let's all contribute to this new community where everybody can lean on each other for support, because there really is nowhere you can go for artist management advice. And there's so many different situations that can happen when you are a manager, because you're required to do so many different things. But what I think some people are going to hear is, oh, Dame's available 24/7 for advice and feedback. And it's like, that's not what I'm building. You know what I'm saying? Like, the MEC is still like a passion project. This is not what pays my bills, Payne's bills. Like, we do this stuff for, like the session yesterday was free. It was just something that I thought was gonna be positive, that I don't think that I've never seen happen. Like, and given the fact that I was managing artists for so long, again, I'm so mad at myself that we've never isolated artist managers, when they probably need some of the most support. So I thanked everybody for showing up and hanging in there for over an hour and a half. And then I said, let's build myself. I was like, so I already know that. But
that build is going to be different though. I think you're talking a language to people who understand what that build means. Like, this is the reason why these artists get managers a lot of the times. It's because, man, I've been DMing Dame, I've been DMing, I've been DMing Payne, and man, I'm not getting the response I need. I need somebody to represent me that knows how to talk that talk. Like, a lot of folks get the managers hoping that they'll be an extension of them and talk to people in ways that maybe they can't talk. So I think that's in that environment, it makes sense to talk that. But I do feel like, man, there's certain places that I get to, I'm very careful. Like, when I started coming out to talk to different events, I was like, let me not give the intention that I'm about to give my number out to anybody who comes up and talks to me, because that's not the case at all. Like, you may know, like, more about me than I know about you, because you've seen my social media, you've seen my videos. I build with people on a one-to-one. You got to show, like, I got to see what your character's all about. And even then, I still don't know. So I take my time with it. And this is why I pay so much attention to the language of it, not to be like obsessed, because we're saying the same thing, not to be obsessing over semantics. But I do feel like, because that word has shifted in a different direction, and a lot of words have, it changes the behavior that goes around it. And salute to you for doing that with the managers, because, I've met a lot of artist managers in my lifetime, and God bless them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, there's a lot of people out there that think they want to be artist managers. Some just want to be close to cool, right? Like, they want to be close to the person that's creating cool. So some of it's ego driven, but some of them really want to figure this out and think that, this is what they want to do long term. So I just want them to know the realities and set them up, with the mindset that gives them the best opportunity for success and working with the right people, choosing the right people.
Can I share my favorite Curtis King moment? My favorite recent Curtis King moment?
For sure.
What's that, man?
Because not to go back to the original conversation, which was just about how people have this instant gratification expectation, and then also this whole, you played off the word build, where they feel like they're just kind of like the internet isn't really real people. It's just things that avatars that they can manipulate. I remember you were going live. I don't remember why. I remember this moment where someone said, "I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to unsubscribe." And you just, without even blinking, said, "Okay, cool, do it. I don't care." And I've been noticing that
nobody against their will.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you know what I'm saying?
I've been getting that a lot lately, or I've been getting the threats. Like, I almost unsubscribe because I don't like the title. I'm like, just do it, man. And that kind of thing all plays into this concept of people wanting to control other human beings and then rejecting them based on really superficial factors. It's not like, you were on there talking about, I hate everybody from Canada. It wasn't offensive. It was something, and it's not like I'm doing anything crazy, and people, I'm going to unsubscribe. I mean, we did do the whole conversation about racism in the music business, and I did lose some subscribers there, but I feel like I gained non-racist peace. So that wasn't a loss, but the other people were. It's just funny, new culture where you can tell somebody, you can try to hold your loyalty as a viewer over the head of a brand or an individual or an artist, and that's something that didn't exist 20 years ago. I mean, think about if I didn't like a Public Enemy album and I could just tweet Chuck D 20 years ago when I was a little kid and say, "Man, I'm thinking about not ever buying your albums again."
Twitter in the 90s might have got a lot of people killed. Like, that might have got a lot of people hurt at the very least. When I think about lynch mob and everybody running around here, like, when you look at some of these biopics, and I'm like, throw a Twitter account in the midst of that.
Right.
Like, imagine Ice Cube running down the hall. I seen that tweet. Like, imagine Tupac. I seen that tweet. Like, I can't imagine what he would be on a drunk night, on those nights that we didn't get to hear every Tupac. Like, there's many different Tupacs that I'm sure that we have not seen. I can only imagine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's why we didn't have it at that point in time.
But I think it's even because when I hear people say like social media isn't real, like. At my age, I don't process that the same way because, like, I don't let you know everything that's going on in my life. But my shit is real. Like, I post what I really feel, what I really do. Like, I'm really working out. I'm really making these smoothies. I really like LeBron. Like, I really think this way about the dumbass president. Like, my shit is real, but I realize that, some people, and I think for the most part, people do post what they really feel, but some people, maybe a lot of people, are playing a game. They are, posting things they don't really feel for reactions. I see it all the time, but I hear that a lot. Like, remember, social media isn't real, and it has a very real effect. It had a very real effect on my life. It's created my career, and that shit is very real. So I don't really know how to receive that comment because I definitely see some fakeness. Sure. I see people playing the game, but like I've never approached it that way. I don't think, especially people my age, I think most people, like, it's a real part of their life. Like, so I don't know how to digest that when people say it.
I'll say like this. If it's not real, why do these entities pay hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to buy them out? Oh, it is very real. It is so real that daily somebody is trying to figure out how to tweak the algorithms so that you stay on longer. It is very real. It is so real, even when it's fake. That's still, there's fake people, and that's just real life. It is so real, you cannot be anybody else within it except for who you are. Even if you are going on there and you're like trying to like be, oh no, I don't have a political view. Like, even if you're trying to play the middle person, you still get exposed for that. Like, it's almost like high school all over again for a lot of folks. Even the quiet kid got talked about. Don't mess with nobody. Don't say nothing to nobody. Ate by itself. Why you eating by itself? What's your problem? Long as you show up, somebody got something to say. So Payne, and I know you can relate to it because you speak. You're like, and this is why I respect you so much, Payne. One is like, you're like one of the only other producers that I lean on when it comes to speaking about mental health, because there's not a lot of folks in our space that do that. There's way too many people trying to convince people that 6 figures is the way for them to be the ultimate happy human being, when there's been studies at Harvard University that say $75,000 is where we cap out at. That's where we get our happiest. And that's very much more, that's a lot more attainable than everybody being a millionaire, got, 500,000, whatever. So I appreciate that. But then also too, in me respecting my own mental health, I got to look at this and say, sometimes they think that I am just a figure because I don't address the negative. If I only address the positive, that's not who I am. Like, people say, oh, no, focus on the positive. That's bull. Because if I'm driving down the middle of the road and I'm focusing on the beautiful sky and how great the weather is, I don't see the accident that's sitting right there in front of me. And I could damage and hurt myself in the process. So I address everybody. And then on top of that, positive feedback. I have seen so many people, I know y'all have seen it, people who were your diehards, people who loved everything that you had to say. But the moment you said one thing, you're canceled and they're off of you. Right? Or they're telling people how fake you are. So if that's the case, cool. Instead of being angry about it, a level-headed perspective on this is I take the bad and the good in the same breath, because the bad can become the good and the good can become the bad. So if I can look at it from there, that's why you get people think I'm snapping and I'm angry. No, I'm giving you a real response so that when you come into this environment, even though it is the internet and the internet is free, when you come into my environment, this is my house. You're not going to come up putting pictures on the wall of your SoundCloud link. Like, that's not what's going to happen inside my house. So when you're here, respect the household. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to your page and promoting nothing. Right. 10 times out of 10, I should say. 11 times out of 10. So I think that's not a hard thing to ask for, especially because we're so early in the social media internet age, right? We're still very young in that when you think about it, because it's still developing. People, even the psychology behind it is still developing. So, I let it be what it is. I would much rather you hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm not, because at some point in time you're gonna smell a cap and you're gonna get away from me anyway. So might as well make it early.
Right. Speaking of mental illness, and I know we're about to wrap up soon. Maybe we'll continue this conversation on the next episode. But Curtis, let's get your opinion on what Kanye's been doing on social media. Yesterday, He released over 100 pages of his contracts with Universal. He was pissing on Grammys. What's your reaction when you see this, if you saw this?
So I think that because we live in such a polarized society that says, like, you're either on the side of he's crazy and needs to get help and nothing he says has any sense, and then you got the other side that's like super woke that's saying no, he's not crazy, like he's saying some real stuff. I think it's possible to live in both of those universes, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, is that you're running for president and you're pissing on Grammys in the same year. What are we doing? What are we doing? We're not properly going about the process. What are we doing? That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it, him saying what he's saying about labels you've been saying, like you've said it before, Prince has said it before, like what these labels really are. Like that's why folks go independent. That's why they build, like, this is the Tech Nines. They've talked about this stuff already. Like, this stuff has been around. This is nothing new. Only difference is that instead of concocting a PDF, he put every single image up, which I think, once again, that's the sort of balance of a Kanye, is that it wasn't enough for him to post the contract up. He has to make a circus of it, because he's the ultimate master of controlling of people's attention. So there's two sides to that. There's one side where I'm looking at it and I see like Hit Boy stood up, and I actually had to big up him and let him know, like, because I've met him on a personal end, and I've worked with him, and like I've seen years and years before even niggas in Paris. Like I remember being at his different housing studios, and like I respect him, I admire him. And to see him say, yo, I've been struggling with this label situation and with lawyers, multiple lawyers. I'm like, damn, bro, you've been going through all of that and still had time to redefine yourself and still had the endurance to come back and be part of the #1 album with Big Sean. Still had the, you know what I'm saying? Like you did that. And so I don't think anybody can blackball you. They can't blackball the real, not in 2020. That's not going to happen now. That's the one benefit of being in 2020. All the crazy shit that's happened, that's the one benefit. You can't, as long as somebody's still breathing and walking this earth, you cannot cancel them. And so when I saw Hibbo on the Twitter, I just had to make sure that I big upped him. So I think with Kanye and all of this, I think that there exists an opportunity to see both sides for what it is. I think a lot of the stuff that he does is a dash to stay relevant, a panic to always be relevant, because he'll do any and everything within his ability. But at the same time, I do feel like he is in a different spiritual walk right now, and I think he needs help. So I think all of those things can exist at the same time, because still, I mean, even though he's not the old Kanye, some part of that Kanye still exists within him consciously.
Nah, I agree. I think, well, actually, with Hit Boy stuff, I couldn't really get past the first sentence, like, because he basically was like, I don't really mess with Kanye. He stopped working with me just because I worked with Beyonce. And it's like, God, like,
yeah,
like how like Kanye is as much as the problem as he's calling out the labels to be, especially at the same time, I'm sure that he has at least a percentage ownership in the masters of people on good music. It's like, are you about to just release people from their contracts and give everybody their masters back if he has the power to do so? I'm not sure if how
talk about it.
How his
You saw Wendy Day say that, right?
What'd you say?
You saw Wendy Day's tweet?
What did she say?
She responded to Kanye and said, "Okay, cool. Post all the UMG contracts, but also post the good music contracts." And I don't think it came from a place of, because it's Wendy Day. We know Wendy Day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She has the reputation of always being the advocate.
Sure.
She doesn't sign people. So she's in this space where if anyone can make that challenge, it's going to be her. She can challenge Kanye to do that.
That's gangster.
So, and I think
you got to do that.
Yeah. And I just love, so I think here's the danger of all this. And it's always going to be the danger no matter what information is put out there. You have people who aren't ready to receive this information. You have people who have never seen an agreement in their lives, a lot of producers who have never seen, rappers who have never seen an agreement in their lives and may never see one. Now they're scared, and now they're trying to interpret this information that Kanye is giving out, but they just don't have the experience level or the perspective to properly interpret it. So now they're looking at it like the same, the slave contracts, labels are banks. We're back to that whole set of platitudes, when in reality, I would love to see these contracts. And I think the conversation about how recoupment works is something that needs to happen, because recoupment needs to change. Transparency needs to be a priority for people signing these agreements. And I mean, the whole label system needs to change the way they write contracts and the way they recoup and the way they account. And there's just so many things wrong with the system. I just know that these things are wrong with the system because I've been in the system for 12 years. Mm-hmm. The day before Def Jam sent me my first contract, I did not know what the hell recoupment was. I had to learn fast. So I don't fault some random producer who's never gotten a placement in their lives reading this and getting freaked out for all the wrong reasons, because they're just not ready to receive that information yet. So I think that's the danger, but I think the benefit is that now there's going to be more transparency, because I think before, people are scared to do something until someone bigger than them does it.
Of course.
You can't get bigger than Kanye. You can't get bigger than Hit Boy. Mm-hmm. So they start releasing these contracts, and then you have all these dumbass producers on the internet who have never seen a contract in their life talking about, I don't know why people always get screwed in their contracts. All you need to do is read the fine print and get yourself a lawyer. One, there's no fine print. Contracts are all written, and it's not a pharmaceutical ad. It's not a Viagra commercial. There's no fine print. It's all there in the same font size. It's just so convoluted that, yeah, you from you know, the comfort of your Uber on your phone on your way to whatever restaurant you're on the way to, you can type this, but if you're not experiencing it, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You're not a lawyer. Lawyers are there for a reason. The law is written to be convoluted so the average person can't interpret the situation they're getting into at a proper level. And that's just the system. We want the system to change, but at the same time, we need to change ourselves and figure out exactly what that change needs to be. We're never going to get there unless we jump into a totally unfamiliar world that makes us really uncomfortable.
And I know you guys are getting ready to wrap up everything. You mind if I add one thing to that, especially when it comes to producers, because that's just the tribe that I talk to. I had a thought the other day, and this is the first time I'm even sharing it. I usually just think on thoughts before I share it and kind of like see what it means. But this is one I kind of want to just unload out there, and maybe it's for another conversation. I think that the reason why producers speak like that about contracts and things like that and make it their business to just speak very freely about things they've never experienced, like you guys have experienced, and you know what I'm saying? Like you've been around it. They haven't had their heart broken, and not enough. They're wet behind the ears, and this is not a young thing. There's a lot of folks that are my age, 35, that have yet to experience anything, and everything is just simplified. What do you mean? You didn't know that record labels were shady? It's not that simple. It's not that simple, right? Everybody has circumstances, and the only person you got to answer to is the person that you lay your head next to when you go to sleep at night. So everybody else can have their opinion, but I think a lot of producers, man, they have not had their heart broken enough, right? So many of them are so hypersensitive to everything or so indifferent to everything that they think everybody is scamming them, right? They think everybody is out to get them, or they think that the answer is to be like the person that has the biggest, largest audience. And just because somebody has a large audience does not mean that they're a leader. It just means that they found something that people congregated around, which kind of brings everything full circle. So, and that's what I'm getting at, is that I think there's a lot of producers that I don't even want to have the conversation no more. It's not worth my energy no more. Like I don't even want to wrap my fingers around the phone to even type back to you. Fam, go figure it out. Go figure that out. Because when you have your heart broken, you're going to come back and realize why we give the type of advice that we give. But some people, you know, hard head make a soft ass. You got to go figure it out. And so, I'm realizing that's one aspect of it too. The other, I mean, as a quote unquote influencer or whatever you want to call whatever I do, it's not my job to parent the internet. I got to just give my information, know that it's coming from the right place, know that it's been tested by my own experience, and then, pray for the best. But I think a lot of producers need to get more heartbreak before they can. It's too much arrogance. It's too much. I know everything. No, the more you know you don't know.
I think that's a great point too, and it's one of my frustrations and why some people think I'm always caping for the labels is because cats give too many extra points just because from who they hear it from. Right. Yeah. Like we started the MEC because like artists need to know more about the music business. So why are you giving more credence to an artist who's ranting on social media? Like we need to empower artists. We need to educate artists. So like you're giving too many extra points just because of the extra followers, like what you're saying. And then it's like, man, like nobody's hearing. There is a label side to this. Like the truth is always in the middle. Yeah. Right. But when Kanye says something, the narrative is already out there that labels are shady. The music industry is this deep, dark space. That's already the narrative. But now it's easy for Kanye or for Joe Budden or for Hobson, like for anybody to like pile on to that. you know, and given the craziness of their followings, like it's gonna shift, you know, everybody to one side, and it's like it's a more nuanced conversation, and that's what we need to have on our platforms.
Damn, I look at it like this. If I don't know Kanye, this is why I don't really speak too much on celebrity stuff on my Purdue. I don't speak on anybody like anybody's business. I let them do like they're just any other human being or any other stranger. But I'll tell you this. Based upon the Kanye that we have seen, and I'm sure it has evolved, the same Kanye they drunkenly went on stage and took an award out of, you know what I'm saying, out of Taylor Swift hand and said, I think that Beyonce deserved I'm going to let you finish. That Kanye had to exist at some point in time within these label meetings. That Kanye had to be the one that said, you're not going to do this for me? I'm the biggest artist in the world. You're not going to do this for me? Well, this is the way that I do things. That person still exists. And you're right. I think that it's too much of an easy, and this is not me caping for no damn labels, but it's too much of an easy answer to make it black and white. Everything cannot. The shades in the middle. You can't just say, oh yeah, of course, the record labels are evil. No. We got to see, first of all, look back at the person as, my mom used to tell me, anybody who brings you a bone is going to take a bone. If they bring you gossip, they're going to take gossip somewhere else. So if he's coming in here and putting them on blast, the question needs to be asked, why did you initially say yes to this? One. And two, why are you choosing to disclose things like this? There are a million ways that you could disclose. Why on Twitter, where you can throw something out there, and although it could be some damning evidence for people who understand that legal jargon, you also can give somebody some dumbass ammo who don't know how to use a gun and then start shooting it off in a social media posts about in section 456, it says this in the contract, not knowing that's a standard thing in any damn contract. I don't trust the word whereas in. That's in every contract. What are you talking about? But I'm with you. There's two sides to every story. But you know, we have been getting mostly the artist side that hates the labels.
It's the fun. That's the fun side. That's where the movies get created. That's
sexy. That's
the entertainment.
Yeah.
Dope, man. I enjoyed this conversation, man. I think this was definitely a quality, one of our most quality episodes of the MEC podcast.
Is it worth a follow though?
I already followed. I already followed you. I followed you before we started the podcast. I got you. And I'm gonna shout you out and tag you.
Hey, you trying to build? You trying to start a movement, bro? Like I think now's the time, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Let's do it.
On that very positive note, this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, powered by BeatStars, beatstars.world. We do this every Thursday and Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, beatstars.live, and then we do the podcast every week as well. That's 3 totally free sources of music business mentorship weekly. Shout out to you, Curtis King, one more time.
Thank you for
Appreciate you for tuning in.
Shout out to the BeatStars family too. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna have to have you on one of the Thursday sessions. It's actually in my schedule to contact you and ask you about
appreciate
that.
So
man. It's
house looking nice too, by the way, Payne. Look at you back there.
This house is, I don't want to talk about it. If you look up there and see all those plants there, all those plants were outside, but it got cold suddenly, so I can't actually open the front door. I got to go out through the back.
At least yours are real. I'll be in here looking like people like, oh man, like Miami inside your studio. I'm like, yeah.
There's a lot of plastic in Miami that looks real. All right. On that note, yeah. Hey, well, we have a seat for a third. Trust me, you have more personality than us. Let's see how the comments section blows up after this. All right, peace, everyone.
Peace.